Zoning Commission meeting, a regular meeting for February 3rd, 2020. We have one missing member, and Erickson is sick, so Diane, could you please serve for Ann?
Sure.
Thank you. The minutes of the January 6th meeting. Has anyone seen anything that needs correcting on those minutes? I did not.
I reviewed the minutes and didn't find anything, Mr. Chairman.
I wasn't here.
I wasn't at the meeting.
Okay. Well, no changes. They will be adopted as they're submitted. First order of business is a public hearing for Lisa, is it Hamel or Hamel? Hamel. So, Mr. Secretary, could you read the call?
Yep, public hearing, application 20-01 for Lisa Hamill, agent, Simsbury Town Shops LLC, owner for special exception pursuant to Article 10, H-1 of the Simsbury zoning regulations to permit the sale of alcoholic beverages on the property located at 926 Hot Meadow Street, Assessor's Map H09, Block 227, Lot 009, Zone, Simsbury Center Zone.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to tell us what you plan to do? Please.
To the microphone.
The whole town's watching you.
You're on TV.
Good evening.
Good advertising.
Chairman and members of the board, thank you so much for this opportunity to share my idea tonight, and thank you for coming out the evening after the Super Bowl. I know you're probably very tired. So my name is Lisa Hamill. I'm here this evening because I'm pursuing a special exception permit, Article 10, H1, for the sale of alcoholic beverages at 926 Hot Meadow Street. This is the location of the old Horan's Flower Shop. I'm extremely excited about this opportunity. I've lived here in Simsbury for the past 13 years. I have 3 children who go to school here, and I'm extremely passionate about this town. I have a business currently in Granby called Wine Etc. It's at 8 Mill Pond Drive, and we've been there for about 6 years now. I'm excited about this opportunity for many reasons. First, we have a business model that's very community-oriented, and we're doing a lot to involve the members of the community. For example, there's a real pull now for wine tastings and cheese pairings. That would be something new that we would do in the Simsbury location that we do not offer in Granby. We also have a lot of book clubs that we're getting a lot of feedback people are liking, where we're pairing the book club with some wine, and people are coming out from the community to enjoy conversation. It's very much a community-based business model, and furthermore, it's a great location. So I remember when the lease sign came up at the Horns, I thought, gosh, could I run a flower shop? Nope, can't do that, know nothing about flowers. But I do know something about wine and the successful business model that we've run. The energy in that plaza and the proximity to the bike path, I think, is really important for our business model. There's the outdoor concerts, there's a lot of activity going on in that plaza. And there's also a great collaboration opportunity with some of the other businesses that are existing there. I had a great opportunity to meet the owner of the Board and Brush Studio, that paint studio that just went downstairs, and the manager actually was really excited because many of the painters come to the studio and they get there and don't realize that it's BYOB. And she was thinking, wow, I can just send them right upstairs, and it would be a nice collaboration opportunity for our businesses to cross-promote. So that would be another exciting thing about the location, and just, again, continuing the growth of our business trends. And many of our customers do drive from Simsbury. It's about 35% of the customers now that come over. So to be more centrally located, I think, would be very beneficial. So yes, I think at this point I don't have anything additional other than questions that you might have for me. I'm happy to answer at this point.
Commissioners?
Are you intending to continue the location in Granby? Are you going to do 2 sites?
We are intending to do both.
Great. I hope their
Yeah.
success
Thank
is
you.
duplicated here.
Thank
Could you tell me something else? I'm curious about the business model. Wine, et cetera, does that mean that you're not selling a traditional line of liquor and beer and that sort of thing, really just focused on wine?
That's a great question. So what we do, our name was specifically branded under wine, et cetera, because what we do, most of our sales is wine. And we really do try to target that product because people are very interested. Recently, we've had this growing craft beer evolve, so there's a lot of people that are coming in wanting Connecticut breweries. And they are, if, you don't follow the Connecticut beer, they are flying. I mean, there's so many breweries that are coming up and very progressive and offering great products. So we do sell a lot of craft beer as well. And then, of course, we sell spirits, liquor and that sort of thing. But our target is wine, and people like the wine, education, the food pairing, and all the community that is associated with the wine.
Great.
10 by 7.
Other questions, Diane?
Well, my question was going to be if you were going to continue in the original location, so we beat you to that one.
Yeah, and we are going to keep the name the same as well, because we've worked hard to brand that business under that name. And it is something different than when we initially purchased it. I mean, it was a liquor store, but it's kind of evolved now into this kind of hub for community events, and we're pulling a lot of people in to experience that community piece in addition to the product that we offer. So we want to continue people to know from Granby that shop there who come, from Simsbury, to understand that it's really the same business model. We will diversify a little bit with the cheese. And we met with somebody recently who's very knowledgeable with the cheese and wine pairing, so they could do that education piece for us.
So are you planning on selling cheese, or are you just going to have events that involve wine and cheese?
No, we're going to sell cheese as well. We'll have a cheese cooler, a small one on the counter.
And where would you have like the tastings and things like that, the space?
Yeah, that's
Here?
a great question.
Yeah.
So if you look at the floor plan, and we did that just because the liquor permit, when we apply through the state, they require that we give them a sample of what the floor is going to look like and how we're going to utilize the space. So if you look at that floor plan, there's a window right in the front. You walk in the front door, and on the right is a window. There's a group of shelving, that first group of shelving. Right before that, we're going to put a table that extends out to 96 inches, so it's a nice expandable table with chairs, and we're going to set everybody
That
up
would be
right
there.
there. And then if we needed to fold that down and utilize that space for other things, we could.
Okay.
Other questions? There's a lot of space downstairs in that property. You plan to use that?
Wine storage.
A
Yeah.
lot of space.
Yeah. We actually went down there the other day to look at it because they're in the process of cleaning it out. The great thing is there's a walk-in cooler already there. And, the Florins are willing to part with that. They don't have a use for it, and it's a great use for us because it's, an overflow to have, cold beverages. We would put coolers, as you can see in the floor plan, upstairs because we wouldn't have customers going downstairs to access anything from the bottom. But for us, it's the restocking model because people like their beverages cold. So when we sell something upstairs, we could have that overflow downstairs and just restock pretty easily. And there is a back entrance, which is really nice for deliveries at the end of the month when we have a lot of wine being delivered. They can access through the back door, and that back door goes right to the stock room, so they wouldn't have to go through the front and down the stairs. So it really does, the layout really does lend itself well to the storage unit being used in the back. And will give us lots of exercise with the stairs.
Mike, doesn't the state set a limit to the number of licenses? So we're well within that?
We have one available. We have two available.
Yeah,
right
it's
now.
one after this one.
So, because Mr. Evans did not apply to that license that was approved down at 132 Hot Meadow Street.
He hasn't
Approved by
applied
this
yet,
commission.
Mike, or he's
He's
decided?
approved by this commission, however, he never applied to the state. He's a little tied up with DOT right now for improvements that are requiring for Route 10 and driveway improvements.
On that
Okay,
building?
But it's, so there would be room for both.
She can get it, and Tom would get it, and then that's it.
Yeah.
We're done with package licenses for the town of Simsbury, unless someone closes or,
Right.
And
Just remind us, what's that ratio based on population?
one per every 2,500 people that live in town.
Next.
I was just going to say, I don't really know as well, but is there any kind of an issue with being, package stores being close to one another? The fact that the Andes is, their valley or whatever it is, isn't that far away? Do we have any issues with that?
No, our regs, separation distance is not part of our regs. We just regulate based on special exception the use. There's no, some towns, they used to have regs that say you can't have two within 1,000 feet of each other. We don't have that provision.
Anyone else?
And we don't
No,
have
I-
any rag on distance to schools either. Let's see.
Let me just mention for you that it may be an opportunity down the road, but last year we approved a distillery to be opening at some point in one of the buildings down along.
He's open.
He's open.
He is open. Oh, okay. So there's a new distillery over there about to start creating products, limited products for the market. Maybe there's,
And where is that located?
The railroad station.
Railroad
The old
station.
railroad station
Yeah.
behind.
And Bank of
Yeah,
America.
yeah, he can sell from, he has his own retail office.
The feds are supposed to approve his labeling for the bottles.
Oh.
That's what's been the, because since he moved from West Street, it basically took a year for them to acknowledge that they'll process his application.
So he's not yet able to distribute.
Legally, he can't sell yet. The feds have not, at least that's the last I spoke to him. He may have his approval in hand now.
Like 9 bottles.
but you got your hands full in the immediate future anyway,
Sure
but
do.
there's something, maybe.
That's a great collaboration.
Okay, any more comments from the commission? Let's open it up to the public. Anyone here like to speak to the application? Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, my name is Robert Rossetti. I came tonight because I wanted to show my support for Lisa Hamill. Lisa bought my business in Granby, and previously I had a store in Simsbury where Valley's used to be, and she's been a tenant for 6 years, just an outstanding individual. When she came to me for some guidance and direction in terms of her thought process and her RAND space, I gave her my input, and I'm here to give her my full support. I have no vested fiduciary interest whatsoever in her endeavors. It's just that because her outstanding ways of doing business and being a tenant, I really appreciate that, and I know that there's a good use for that spot, and I believe the synergy around the town shops, I think will be very beneficial for her, and she will be very beneficial for them. So I'm just here to support the Lisa and her project.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Anyone else care to speak? Mr. Secretary?
All right, Mr. Chairman, I move that we close the public hearing for public hearing 20-01.
I'll second it.
Second by Mike. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Sit down and wait a little later.
Aye. Opposed?
Yeah, okay.
Carries 6-0. So the public hearing is closed. Okay, the next, next order of business is application 19-53 of Tom Taberski, town of Simsbury, for a site plan amendment to install directional signage on the property. Yes, you tell us what you want to do and
If that's possible. So, thank you for having us tonight. The Friends of Simsbury Farms is a nonprofit association. They're our kind of our fundraising arm. Through their fundraising endeavors, they are promoting a sign project, wayfaring signs at Simsbury Farms. As you know, at this point, the main sign we have is by the side of the road. We've recently changed the color scheme on that sign from brown and beige to green and white. On that sign, we're in the process of modernizing all of our park signs. But at that point, it's just a coat of paint. But Mike's trying to get it up. What we have to you is 6 signs that we're trying to put up, the wayfaring signs, directional signs at the park at Simsbury Farms, mainly let people know where the pools, the basketball courts, the ice rink, the golf course. But frequently, I get golfers in the summertime showing up with a bag right outside my office and unfortunately have to turn them back around to their car and send them up the hill. We are trying to add a welcome directional sign, sign number 1, and a thank you sign on the golf course exit road. And please excuse that we've since moved this sign from the original layout, but the golf course exit sign would be pointing to the right. It'd be at the end of the exit road, coming down from the pro shop, and then letting people know if you want to exit, you go back up and down the hill rather than not knowing where you're going and taking another turn up toward the pool. We have made some changes to the original plan that was presented to design and review. The font on the signs has changed. We have added the arrows to signs 1 and signs, again, the exit sign, sign 6. We've given them a site plan, which you can pull up. I can give you directions if you might want to use the pointer.
Which one would I do first?
Let's do sign 1. So sign 1, the welcome sign, would be basically as you get to the top of the hill on the rise, when the opening of the property becomes in front of you. Welcome, asking you to go forward there. The next sign, as you get past the first stop sign and go up toward the basketball courts and the tennis courts on the right, there'd be a sign there directing you into that playground, tennis court and basketball parking lot. The next sign would be before the next stop sign out in front of the main building where the pool is. It's letting you know the administrative office, the pool and the rink, that's your parking area there. So that way the golfers go forward.
That's sign 3 right here.
Sign 3, yep. And then we'd have a bag drop sign at the golf course, in line, standardizing that sign with all the others we're putting on the property. Basically out in front of the paver area, the sidewalk area out in front of the golf course where the pro shops, where the golf carts are parked. 1 exit sign in the golf course parking area, leaving, so you, again, knowing you're going down the hill and out toward the left there. And then we get to the golf course, the thank you for visiting sign, directing you to the right, not straight ahead.
So there is one where you've got your laser now, that's the one, the exit one? Is there, if you come down from the golf, yeah.
6 and 7. So we're on the next slide. 6, 7.
So the signs that are depicted there have been examined by the
They did, Mike
Design review.
has the conditions that they've asked us to.
So design review, first we'll go over their recommendations. They sent a favorable recommendation with 3 modifications. 1, they asked the font size for Simsbury Farms for signs 1 and 6 be reduced. Sign 6, that exit, go on top. Thank you at visiting the Simsbury Farms below, with all of that lettering, the same size font. And then sign 1 to pull the text over, and they've already asked to reduce the size of Simsbury Farms to the left so it's all balanced together. One of the issues that came up with this review is sign 1, sign 6, they have the Simsbury Farms logo on it. Technically, that would be considered 2 freestanding signs. You're only allowed 1 per site, which they already have. If I go back to the site plan, there's actually a existing freestanding sign that says Simsbury Farms right here at the entrance off Old Farms. The design review discussed we discussed with them how technically this would be considered with the logo, additional signage, which is not allowed under the regs. This property is located within a residential zoning district, so you're limited to the 1 freestanding sign. If they're directional in nature, you don't have a limit to the number. So they have an option, this is the other option, without the logos on it, with those modifications by design review. Obviously, the modifications to the text and to the size have not been made on this. So I guess the first question to the commission is, based on your definition of the sign, do you agree with the interpretation that when you put the logo on it, that makes it a identification sign? Meaning you can't have the logo on it. Because these are your regs. Staff's opinion would be logo on it. You know, we've asked other entities in town that have logos, either remove them from their directional signs or reduce the size of the logos. So I mean, that's a very large logo on it.
So what did the DRB say?
They did not comment on it for the fact that with the logo on it, technically it doesn't meet your regs, so they said, we won't say the logo's okay. They focused in on the text of the signs and the balance of the text, the need for reducing it. They felt that reducing and making the text uniform, it made the sign function more as a directional sign and not an identification sign. When you had Simsbury Farms, the largest text on it, you lose the message that it's supposed to be pointing you towards the exit.
So do they require it to be the same font or just the same size?
Same font, same size.
And what about the background graphic?
No approval of the background graphic.
That's not the same thing as a rejection. They didn't comment on it. is what
Because it
you're saying.
didn't, well, technically, like I said, the strict interpretation of your regs would be, is that logo triggers as an identification sign, would not be allowed.
Is the graphic part of the logo, is that a new logo, or am I not
It's
aware?
the Apple logo we use at the golf course.
Oh, that's why I don't know about it. Okay. But you're now using it,
It's
It's
the
gonna
fact
become
of Simsbury
the-
Farms logo,
okay.
we use it.
okay,
It's not the rec department logo, it's the Simsbury Farms logo, it's a little bit
right.
different.
Comments?
What's the sign, what are they going to be made of? Are these going to be printed or painted or?
We have Diana Hearn who's our sign designer.
Yeah, I'm Diane Ahern. I'm with a company called Adams Ahern, and we do wayfind planning and architectural graphics, and we also build our product. These are all made out of aluminum, and it's a painted product. It's painted. You would not be able to tell they're aluminum once it's been painted. The reason we do that is it doesn't rot, doesn't split, doesn't do any of those things, so that it has longevity. The text will be applied adhesive text. It has, certainly these signs would last 20 years. The text on it will last somewhere around anywhere between 10 and 15 years. Chances are you're going to change that text, you're going to add some stuff at some particular point, or take some stuff away. Like a challenge course might go away and something new might go in its place. So by not painting the graphics onto it, it means that we can remove that and change that at any given time.
And what colors are they going to be?
It's going to be an off-white. What I did was I went to the property and I found a cohesive color that was on every single building and that was there. And it's an off-white grayish beige. So it's a very neutral color. You want it to be a neutral. It reads better if it's neutral. So the text will be in what we are going to call a matte black. So it's not a stark black, it's just slightly off of it, but it will give that good legibility contrast to it.
In the graphic in the background,
The graphic
some
in
would
the
call a logo,
background,
some might
very
not.
much the Friends would like to have.
Mhm.
And I consider it a graphic, not a logo. I consider it an identity graphic. That could be one of two ways. The color that the Friends would like to see is red, so it would be kind of a bold look. But what we're showing it here is a tone-on-tone graphic, so it's background graphic. So we would have it as a light-colored sign, let's say it's that off-white I'm talking about, and that would be a slightly darker tan for it to be there. Now, the point here is, you're saying welcome and thank you, and you're kind of assuring people they're in the right place, but it's also making the signs a little bit more on the friendly side, rather than it on the stark side.
Could you remind us of the dimensions of those two signs?
The dimensions of them are, the signs themselves are, I can't really remember this, I'm going to have to look at my drawings. So the majority of the signs are the 42 inches from outside pole to outside pole. And the sign face themselves is going to be 24 inches. 24 inches high. That leaves 36 inches underneath the signs. And then because of the fact that there's so many things at the second directional sign, we had to make that one deeper. So that is still 42 inches from pole to pole, but you'll only have 21 inches underneath that particular sign. It's there.
And it's a little higher.
It's slightly higher. By about maybe 4 to 6 inches higher.
Now, in the wintertime, there's a different flow than there is in the summertime.
Only with the golf course parking lot.
Exit from the golf course in the summertime is via Joan Co. Way.
We still maintain that road during the winter.
Okay.
We haven't gated it off or closed it, so if you're up there sledding or for a restaurant event, you can still leave through that via that access road.
But the signs are actually different in the winter than they are in the summer.
Only if you're trying to leave out the
main road.
The main road, yes.
Yeah, you can come up and it'll let you come out the main road when the golf season is over.
Yeah, the park, there would be, there would, I guess, no entry sign,
So
No
now,
exit.
no exit sign, thank you.
now it'll be no exit. Now there will be, in the wintertime, no exit through the main road.
We could continue to do that through the whole year.
But your sign is going to say exit down this way, right?
Well, I mean,
From the
it'll be
golf
an
course
option.
parking lot. It's optional now. I mean, but we have been maintaining the golf course road, exit access road during the off-season, the last 2 winters.
So sign 7 is on the road, it's actually on the far side of the,
It'd be on the right-hand side of the golf.
on the right-hand
course.
side of the road as you're going down to the maintenance barn,
That one.
right
yes.
there.
Yep.
So that's going to be plowed and available in the winter.
It is now, yes.
Okay. So there's
We
really no,
have mechanics, the golf course cart mechanics that you have access to the barn during the winter when they do their maintenance upkeep. So we're clearing that road, and for the it's a sledding help for most people in town
Yep.
too. So we are keeping that area open.
If you found that to be somewhat of a problem, that sign is mechanically fastened and can come off that post during town
no, I just
season.
know that I've been up there in the winter and the routing isn't there. You can come back out the front, which you couldn't do during the year.
During the summer.
And it's fine, I don't care. As
Yeah.
long as the route is available and it's plowed.
Yeah.
So how many signs have the logo, the graphic?
Just the
Proposing
two.
two.
Just 1 and 6.
They're welcome in the by.
Are there legal definitions to a logo? And would this graphic meet those? Like, has it been trademarked? Has it been, or is there any of those standards that this may or may not meet in order to maybe help get the graphic through?
Definition of sign. For purpose, oh, sorry, number.
The
Commercial
sign lady
advertising
tell you?
sign.
What I believe is the case. To me, a logo,
Sign is an object, device, display, or structure, part thereof, situated outdoors or indoors, but designated and intended to be seen outside the building, which is used to advertise, identify, display, direct, or attract attention to an object, person, institution, organization, business, product, service, event, or location by any means, including words, letters, figures, designs, symbols, fixtures, colors, illumination, or projected images. That's your definition of a sign.
That's, covers a lot of ground.
So there is, in my mind, a small difference between something that becomes an entertaining graphic and something that becomes a logo, and that's the commercial aspect of it. And so if you've got a friends group that has adapted, basically this logo, or a park that's adapted this logo, they're not really selling anything. It's not McDonald's Arches. And to me, given that, this is a logo that speaks to what it is, which was an apple farm.
The challenge is when McDonald's does come and want their arches on their sign, they're going to use that as,
Well, I suppose if McDonald's comes and they say that, I mean, it is a legitimate argument to say this is public park. You put up a public park, we'll put some arches on it.
Unfortunately, though, courtesy of recent federal case, we can't regulate by users. We're just straight,
yeah, it's similar to spot zoning. We're trying to,
bingo, same thing.
You redid the front sign recently?
We will be, to put it more, it's recently been painted in the color scheme we used at Town Forest.
Is it gonna have an apple on it?
We haven't finished the final design on it yet, but we could possibly put a small apple on the right-hand side. We're trying to standardize the park signs, the park entrance signs to what you approved Town Forest to be a few years ago. So we're just doing, on some of the signs that we don't have the money to
So, yeah, that
replace.
one's already there.
We're just doing the
Okay.
color scheme at this point. Simsbury Farms and Memorial Pool we're hoping to replace this year in the same style that Town Forest was. And we don't have a logo on the Town Forest sign at this point, but we haven't designed the Simsbury Farm sign either. Doesn't really answer your question.
So it could
I
just
mean, to
be a
me,
graphic.
you all deserve something that's aesthetic. The park deserves something that's aesthetic.
does the graphic in the background make the letters harder to read though?
Well, it's a very simple phrase, isn't it? I would never, and I agree with you on that, I would never put a background graphic on any one of these signs because it would be confusing to read. On that, it's got a very simple phrase on it, which is "Welcome to Simsbury Farms. You have arrived."
Maybe if it's
And
not bright
on
red.
leaving,
it
it's
wouldn't be
"You
so
are
horrible.
leaving." You know,
Right.
they're both about courtesy and assuring people that they've arrived and that they're leaving the property. That's what those signs are all about.
The idea was to soften our welcome and thank you signs.
Right. Oh yeah, no, they're
I
definitely
like
more
the
visually
graphic.
appealing with the graphic behind it.
Can I say something?
Mark, because-
Kelly, president of the Friends of Simsbury Farms. When we came up with the scheme, we wanted to make sure that those people that were arriving at the farms, particularly golfers who are new to the facility or through the sale of Groupon, that the welcoming and thanks for visiting, even with a logo, were something that they would remember. Hopefully we had a good experience and they would come back re-emphasizing the names and the logos. And it's a courtesy. Thanks for coming here to play. And thanks for, hope to see you again when you come back. So that's the thought about the number 1 and number 6 signs.
I would offer just the notion that, to me, and I know there's other people in the room that have been going up there for 50 years plus too, but what really attracts your attention and speaks to you, especially a first-time person, is the quality of the place. When you pull in and you see how well kept it is, the golf course, the trees, the tennis courts, etc., as you pull in, I don't really think that the Apple icon is going to add to that message, because especially if you're a first-time person, the whole thing is just sort of a sight. You don't need that. And I think that, my opinion is the sign is clearer without the logo in the background, or the graphic, or whatever you call it. I think the exhibits that we're looking at without that are going to be more helpful to the first-time visitor and subsequent visitors, because they're bolder. And again, the place is just, it's a super thing when you pull in there to see. You don't need those little, it's so beautifully kept, it's striking. especially in the fall.
Okay, the reg limits directionals to 2 by 2.
Your reg's actually is 6 square feet when you go into, your definition says 2 square feet, but the regs itself is 6 square feet.
But that's for a regular sign?
Traffic directional sign, public notice, not exceed 6 square feet. That's in residential zones, subsection C1G on page 99.
This is in a residential zone. How would a McDonald's fit in this environment? That wouldn't be allowed in a residential zone.
Correct.
So is there a set of standards that is for commercial that's separate than these, or are we having the same text in each
We have
location?
different standards for the commercial districts. The commercial districts have a different standard for signs. Just trying to locate the directional signs in there. One, unlike in a residential zoning district, the directional signs are included in your tabulation of your total signage. Here, we give, in the residential zoning district, we allow 6, we don't put a limit, or especially kind of a site such as this, which is a little confusing, entrance, etc. Commercial, you're going to be limited to your total areas of signage, building, freestanding, and directional. All are totaled up, and you cannot exceed what's allowed for the zoning district. So I think that's the big limiting factor, residential versus commercial.
Okay, so that, but the idea that if we were to allow a graphic in the background, that would affect our commercial is not exactly one for one.
Yeah, you could make that argument with how you tally all the sign areas in the commercial setting. Versus in the residential, you allow 6 square feet. That may be the only way around it, but, I mean, I would first question D. It kind of sounds like, well, I'll put words in the commission. Do you feel that sign 1 and sign 6, based on that definition I read, are considered a sign under your regs? With the logo on the back of it? Because that, if you consider it a sign, you can't treat those as directional signs, which gets us an issue with only having 1 sign per site. So that's the first question to the commission. If you don't consider that a freestanding sign or identification sign, and really it is a directional sign, then the logo doesn't count. Then you're limited by the 6 square feet. Staff's opinion is that logo on those signs is considered a freestanding sign, and unfortunately is not permitted in the regs.
Yeah, I mean, visually, when you look at it, it's for me personally, when you look at it, and unfortunately, we've requested that the fonts change, so that may change the balance a little bit between it being a logo or a sign versus a directional sign. But, you know, the most prominent thing on there is Simsbury Farms, not, you know, the exit is this way or the entrance is this way.
But they are going to be the same size, the new signs. That's what design,
That's design review has that recommendation.
that was their recommendation, to make all the fonts and the letters the same size, so it reads like a directional sign.
And
So Simsbury Farms doesn't stand
right.
out.
And so they made that recommendation. Is that something that you guys are considering?
We want the signs, so.
You want the signs?
Am I,
You're right.
in all honesty, am I in 100% agreement with it? I'm not, but we want the signs, and I understand what they were trying to get at. I think it throws the balance off somewhat, but we do, with you know, the point they made about emphasizing, thank you for visiting on that side, and that's important to us. So I agree with, I do agree with that. They want the exit at the top, thank you for visiting, Simsbury Farms, all in the same font. we'll work with it. You know, that's understandable. You know, we understand and appreciate their advice on that.
Right.
I mean, I'd almost be okay with the graphic if it were all the same size and it read like a directional sign. Not maybe in red, but.
Sign 6, the exit one. So we think we need it can't be on the back of the entrance one?
This sign's going on the access golf. You know, when you come to a stop sign on the access road, you can either go left back up toward the pool or right down the hill, up and down the hill. We want people's clear exit is back down that way, not to the right.
Right. But
There's nothing there
so
right now.
someone coming there, though, also still wouldn't have the direction as far as you can exit to the right, or you could go back to the pool to the left. So you don't actually give them those kind of directions.
You can't go back to the pool.
Yeah, you can go
You
left.
could take a left and go back up the hill.
You can go back up, but it doesn't tell you that.
If you've left the golf course, chances are you're probably leaving the property.
Because, Tom,
Oh, it's not down
sign
there,
6
it's
is right
just-
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it'd be, the face would be looking to the northeast, sort of along the driveway towards the back of the rink, correct?
Yeah,
So meaning.
you're coming down the access
The
road and seeing that
driver's-
sign.
the driver coming down this access way is gonna see it, not,
And nobody else will see it.
no one else will see it.
No.
So if you came into the pool and exited, you would never see that exit sign.
Correct.
It's only for the golfers, or.
Yeah. It's a one-way road, so you would never go
Wait, I'm
down.
confused. You just showed that sign 6, I thought was
This one,
Sign 7.
that's sign 7, so maybe, Tom, correct me, so. Sign 6 is the one we were just talking about.
Correct.
By the pool. This is sign 7,
No, that's
No.
they're one and the same.
Little exit sign.
They're one and the same.
This one right here.
That's sign 7 by the pro
that's
shop,
sign 7, okay. All
by
it
the
says is
restaurant.
exit.
Which is similar to what's there now, if I remember.
But it's standardizing the same font. so they
Yeah,
all look the
absolutely.
same.
No, I just mean there's something there now saying, go this way.
There is.
So.
okay, so the sign 6 is down,
Right there.
Yeah.
That's
Down
sign
there.
6.
Just before that
You
stop
call
sign.
it Joan Co. Road?
Stone Cold Way, but no, it's, some people call it that.
And so,
She would call it that.
but just directional wise, you don't think there's an advantage to having directions at that point? Well, the only thing you tell them is to leave. Because if you drop somebody off and, if you were lost, and you did the whole loop, it doesn't tell you how to get back to where, either the pool.
It's understandable. I mean, I think the goal, what we were trying to get at is you're not being too wordy, but having that courtesy as the 99% of the people who are leaving the course, directing them out. And thanking them for having us.
And is it predominantly golfers that are lost?
A lot of, the out of town.
That end up in front of your office?
We do get a lot of non-resident play up there in particular outings. I mean, we do
Yeah.
20 some odd outings a
Oh,
year
yeah,
up there, and
for
most
sure.
of those, a good number of those people aren't from aren't here regularly.
Right,
So I
right.
think we're helping those people more than anything.
Right.
So then the simple thing would be just an exit sign at that corner that, without this, welcome to Simsbury Farms.
Well, thank you for
Exit.
visiting.
So well, we're having to thank you for visiting. That's what we're getting at is, again, thanks. We hope, we'd love to have something even more flowery than that, but we kind of trimmed it down to, thank you for visiting, exit.
But Tom, the exit arrow on that sign, shouldn't that?
There is an error, I
Yeah,
acknowledged that
shouldn't that-
before. It should be to the right.
To the right, okay.
That's an error on our part. We relocated that sign from a previous design and didn't change the arrow on it.
You got
Okay,
lost.
got lost. I don't know, I was interested in Donna's comment. If we followed the font recommendation of the Design Review Board, could we leave the graphics behind it? Would people be in favor of doing that?
I like the graphic.
Hmm?
I like the graphic. As long as it's tone on tone, I like
Yeah.
the graphic.
Yeah, I'm not so keen on the.
It's really
red,
just a
yeah.
background, it's not a,
Right.
But that's not really our purview, right? I mean,
Well, yeah, sort of.
You can, well, first off, you're
Can dictate
interpreting your
color?
regs right now, it's saying, do you consider that identification sign?
and we're saying no,
Right,
we're not considering it
but you're kind of
identification
saying,
sign.
and you're establishing the conditions on why you're saying no. So you're saying no if you were keeping it in a muted color such as a gray versus a red where you feel strongly that now is flirting with identification
right.
versus.
And it's a public park in a residential area.
I think if there was a unification of the fonts and maybe an adjustment to the sizing and scale, I could very easily see that just being directional. And not a
Or
logo.
the exit sign, or both. Both.
Both the welcome and the exit. Bruce, what do you think?
I still feel the same way, but
Which
I
was-
think it's important to, I think the signs will be very beneficial up there. I'm very supportive of the signs. I don't feel that strongly about the issue of whether the Apple graphic can be in the background or not. My point was largely that, again, I'm going to repeat myself, but the place is stunning. When you pull in that driveway, you start up the hill. I mean, it's a sight. And people who play public courses in particular, as well as some private courses, they're not kept like that. When you pull in, it doesn't look like that. And so it's a wonderful notion that the graphic, the Apple, would enhance the experience for the person coming or going, but I think it's such a small issue. But I don't have the time and energy invested in it, as do others. But, so I can understand the argument being made, and I think the most important thing is to get these signs approved, to get this
I
behind
think,
us.
we have a group that's volunteers put together a fundraising thing to try to enhance the property. And I think we ought to be deferential to their efforts and encouraging those things instead of nitpicking their design choices, as long as they're contributing to the well-being of our properties.
And they worked with staff on this, the rec staff as well. I mean, they were very much in a partnership with the design. It wasn't something that they just went off on their own and did. We had a hand in what these things look like, and it's something we believed in as well, so.
Thank you. I don't know. Somebody want to make a motion to try to encapsulate what we've...
One more, is the Culture, Parks and Recreation staying or not staying?
We'd like it to stay.
It's not very directional.
That's who we are.
Yeah, it's out on the front side.
Can I make one more thing on the number 1 and 2? We changed the font, so this font was the original one, to make it, along with the graphics, to make it a little warmer, a little more whimsical in the layout, as opposed to having more blocky. If you go to the next one, the suggestion was sort of that hard, bureaucratic.
Yeah.
And that's the same feeling, is to try to make it welcoming, whimsical, as well as, some people are more literal and some people are more figurative. So if you mix those two together, that's a little bit that we're trying to add on the welcome to, and thanks for visiting.
I like your point, Kevin, however, that this is a welcome to Simsbury Farms, and Culture Parks and Recs has a main sign at the entrance to the property. Is that not correct?
It will, and then the newer sign would say that as well.
So do we need to repeat that on these two signs, that they're directional signs?
Because in the end, to approve them, we need them to be directional signs. That's the gist of the matter.
Right.
Right.
We'd be happy to remove that if that'll alleviate any further concerns that the commission may have.
What do you guys think?
I feel like I'm not very good with the rules yet, but I see what you're saying, that it does have to be, we have to fall within certain boundaries in order for us to be able to say yes. So if that's what is required for us to say yes, then, okay. It's probably redundant if it's already on the main sign, I guess.
I think the signs, no matter how they come out, are going to be awesome in keeping you and your staff on task rather than being traffic cops. So I'm excited to see them up there in one form or fashion.
Yeah, I'll vouch for, I don't go up there as often as I'd like, and I mainly only go for the ice rink, so I get up to the golf course, I always get a little confused anyway, so the more signage, the better, I'm all for it.
And we are doing the Parks and Open Space Master Plan at this point, and one of the things that's come back from the survey and focus groups is that our wayfinding in all of our parks, including it's not working. So this is going toward that, and the Friends do that as we've been going through this project.
Kevin, did you get the conditions from DRB?
No, do we have all? I'll use her printed on.
I have a written copy.
Would they have to come back then with, or is that something they could work with? Since we don't have like an end result, of what the
So-
sign's gonna look like for real?
So you could condition it and then have authorized staff to work with them on your behalf, if you would like.
There are 2 conditions in the draft that we already have.
Sorry, here's my notes from the meeting.
This is 1 and 6.
Signs 1 and 6.
So 1 and 6. Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion regarding application 1953 of Tom Tversky, that we approve the application with the following changes or conditions. That we consider the apple a watermark, background watermark, and not a logo. 2, that we will remove the culture, parks, and recreations from signs 1 and 6. And we'll incorporate the design review board recommendations on font size and spacing.
Design and layout.
Design and layout. And
Number 1.
4, I guess that we'd like the final signs to be reviewed by staff to comply with the DRB and our recommendations.
You covered it.
And then and the last condition is an administrative zoning permit is required for installation of the signs.
I'll second.
Second by Donna. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carry 6-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your patience. Complicated. Okay, now, the next order of business is consideration of the application of Lisa Hamill for a special exception.
I'm sure others have something to say about this, but I
Pardon?
think it's a great reuse of Warren's space, and I think it would be a nice
Think of the
addition
cooler,
over there. So
even the cooler ones.
yeah, I know.
Yeah, right.
What a great sort of connection there. So personally, I think it's a good use, and I'm ready to support it.
I would fully agree. I think it's a great idea. I've actually wanted to join your book club, so maybe I'll actually make it down there now that it's closer. So,
We do need to review the
We need to review the
exception requirements, and I would say that the need for the proposed use in the proposed location, that's always an interesting one. The need is a tough word, but I think it's an appropriate use in that proposed location. B is the existing and future character of the neighborhood in which the use is proposed, and I would say that this doesn't change the nature of that shopping center.
Right.
Kind of enhances it.
C, traffic, which is likely to be generated by the proposed use, and again, I don't think that necessarily changes what's going on in that center. And D, safeguards necessary to protect adjacent property and the neighborhood in general. And I don't think that is an issue here either. So I don't see issues with any of the special considerations that we have to do for a liquor outlet.
Well, I would argue that the word need from a economic development perspective is the less empty retail space we have on Main Street, the better for the town. And I'm excited to see wine, et cetera, there.
Mike, I think you make a good point there, but my own sense is that the regulation is speaking to that particular need in that location, that the business, the nature of the business, not just the fact that it's a tenant paying rent. But I think that the state gives us a guideline on determining the market. And if, one liquor store per 2,500 people is what they feel is reasonable, we're within that. In fact, we're short of that.
Right.
So I think that when we look at the town, rather than the fact, well, Andy's liquor store is right, down the road. Well, it is, but there's still sufficient market for
To
the
support
product
it,
here
yeah.
in Simsbury.
Fair, that's fair.
Do you want to,
Mr. Chairman, I'd love to read this motion. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve application 20-01 of Lisa Hamill, agent, Simsbury Town Shops LLC, owner for a special exception pursuant to Article 10, H1 of the Simsbury zoning regulations to permit the sale of alcoholic beverages on the property located at 926 Hot Meadow Street. The approval of the sign permit is subject to the following
that sign permit?
the approval of the special exception
That's my fault.
has the following conditions.
It was a test.
It was a test, and I failed miserably. One, that an administrative zoning permit is required for the changes in use, and two, the approval is only for the use. The approval is only for use. Applicant is required to secure applicable approvals for the installation of signage for the new business.
Your second?
I'll second.
Second, by
Thank you,
Kevin?
Bruce.
Further discussion?
All I can say is liquor stores are easier than signs.
That's interesting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 6-0. And you don't have a sign yet.
Wait for that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Should probably read the motion before I read it.
Not that Mike often makes those mistakes.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is the regulation update workshop. And the question is, where are we with our implementation of the comments from the last workshop?
I updated this, so there should be a revision uploaded, at least I asked Laura to upload it Thursday last week?
Oh, today, it says January 21st on the uploaded version. So I did not review it because,
It's
Well, as I started to sort of prepare for tonight, I found myself somewhat at sea because it's still not apparent when you look at the table of contents, for instance, of the thing that Mike handed out at the last meeting that was as of January 21st. When you look at the table of contents, you can't tell which ones have changed and which ones are identical to the other regulations. It's 122 pages. I just can't see us spending the time to go line by line, word by word, over 122 pages when we know half of them, like the PAD, like the regulation regarding where the Hartford was and that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of things that we're not even talking about, unless we have more to do, Dave. I thought we were kind of coming in for a landing here on
we
something.
made a lot of changes in the last workshop. And
Yeah. There are only a
we
couple
had made
sections.
changes at the workshop before, and they didn't all get implemented, so I'd like to see them in place. And the version that was on the
Dropbox, yeah,
Dropbox
was-
had a date of the 21st, so I did not look through the parts that we knew changed.
So your strategy was you were going to look at the
Parts we
sections
talked about.
on agritourism and
Agritourism,
businesses, and you weren't
home
gonna bother
office, and
with
the other
that.
things.
Yeah.
And I would scan through the rest of it, but those were the ones.
So you were going to
that-
go through the whole 122 pages for
I was
tonight?
going to scan through them.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, what was not uploaded, and I'll take the head on this one, is revision date, the 27th. So there's a revise that incorporates our discussion at the last meeting, and I apologize, that's my fault, I should have checked that it was uploaded, I thought it was uploaded. I have at least one print copy here, I can print a few others for the commission before you leave if you would like.
Well, I'm happy with, if it's up on the.
Do you have an electronic? Can you just push it to
I can just,
Dropbox?
all I gotta do is I can physically do that before I leave this building this evening, is upload it right to
that's
Dropbox.
I know, but part of it is, I don't mind printing a couple
need it this
pages at my
evening.
house.
No, we don't need it this
But I don't
evening.
want to print 122 pages after every meeting.
But we don't
Well, we
have
have-
to, just the parts that we,
And what I do is I can print up the pages, like the home occupation regs that we discussed at the last meeting, agro-tourism, and a few other areas, like what Bruce is saying, rather than all 122 pages, if you would like that.
That would help, I think, clarify what the expectations are for us in terms of
Okay,
preparation.
but I want to see the full document
Yeah.
on the web, just so I can scan through it, look at the things that we know changed, and look at the other things to make sure that there isn't something there that we missed.
Well, is it possible just to highlight online, highlight the changed sections, like, and just put a big yellow highlight on them temporarily so that they pop out when you're scanning? I'm just thinking to make it easier, just in the interim period. I mean, I like the idea of the printing a couple pages, but, you know, if you change paragraph B, just highlight
Why
it.
don't you give them the printed, changed sections,
Okay.
so they have them?
Right, but I'm just saying, it would be nice to have, until it's finalized,
Yep.
have it highlighted in such a way that if you're just scanning, it'll pop out at you when you see there's a change. Just a thought.
Track changes, sort of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I'm thinking more of a manual format, but yeah.
When we go to public hearing, will we need to spike out exactly what has changed? Well,
So what I'll do for the public hearing, one, we have one of the old memos we did of what we took out of the regs. We had a memo that said what was going in, and then I'll probably expand that memo to a few other changes that we've made as a result of our workshops. So I will have all that documentation prepared, well, some of it's really just updating that new, along with it'll be a large public hearing file. You'll have a physical document of whatever the final version is of what, as a result of our discussions. And most likely I'll put in the existing regs in case someone doesn't trust our findings and say, no, I think you took something else, you added something to the regs. So it's gonna be a large file, and I apologize ahead of time for it, but that way for the public's sense, everything's there.
Yeah.
It's clear.
As transparent as
If you
possible.
would like, I can also do what we did for subdivision updates. The planning commission had me do a PowerPoint at the public hearing, section by section of what was changed. And we went over that, although we had one member of the public attend the meeting. They understood everything. They felt that I was satisfied with what the planning commission did to update their regs. And that was about a year and a half ago, maybe we did that.
Okay.
so,
Now, we got a couple of other things. One is the, having another meeting. Is there still a reason to have a special meeting?
You know what, because of my screw up on making sure this document is uploaded, I prefer to maybe just, if it's okay with the commission, to have a meeting the next 2 weeks on reg updates. I have another user, it appears that they will be coming in March. So they'll
Okay,
make
so-
a regular schedule, they will not need a accommodation of a special meeting. However, we did offer it to them if it was a time-sensitive issue.
are we still
Okay.
gonna talk about the worker?
Pardon?
Are we leaving out workforce
WHOZ,
housing or?
WHOZ, the
Yeah.
workforce housing.
Are we
zone
leaving,
overlay.
are we just ignoring that, or?
Well, I don't know that we've closed out everything that we
Yeah, that's what I'm
do.
wondering, do we have other topics that we are particularly interested
Or
in?
maybe we leave that for, I'm not opposed to doing, we have to deal with that, but there's significant sections of our regulations we're not doing anything with for this round.
Right.
And so I don't know if we
Well, the
throw
one-
workforce housing in
I
that
thought there
bucket.
was workforce housing, and one of them we were gonna drop. What was the one we were gonna drop?
The,
Housing opportunity zone, is that the one we want to drop? That's the Meadowwood reg, though. So that was a result of your court case. The workforce overlay housing zone, we added language on
Yeah,
being
We had a
located within
map,
750
yeah, we had the
feet
map,
of Hopkins
right.
Street. So it
I thought that was a
made
pretty good solution, actually.
it- Yeah, I mean, that
is
would.
is it written like that now?
It should be. it should
Oh,
be-
it is written in there.
Oh,
Oh, okay, I
maybe
didn't know
That was a
that.
result of when I did the map and
Yeah,
showed.
yeah.
I wasn't aware it got written in, okay.
Okay, so that,
We were able to accommodate the existing projects and limit.
It was-
Right,
Yeah,
right.
basically, we measured how far is Cambridge crossing off Route 10 and said,
That's
there you
it,
go.
right.
That's the
Okay.
furthest away from Route
I didn't know
10 you
that was
can
in.
be.
okay, and that's in this draft. Okay, so that's,
Okay, that's done, okay.
Because we did that,
it was a year ago.
actually, like almost, going on 2 years now? Because it was done this summer.
No.
Yeah,
Yep, okay.
it was a while.
So do we want to have a special meeting sometime in the next, before our next March meeting? We don't have a second February meeting.
Residents.
But March has 2 meetings, right?
March has 2 meetings. You have a meeting on the 3rd and you have a meeting on the 17th. So yeah, the curveball of the month of February is you would have a meeting on the 17th, but President's Day falls on that date. So you have either, you could schedule a special meeting on the 24th, that's a Monday, or sometime during the week, maybe of either the 10th or the 18th.
I'm not here the week of the 10th.
You're not here the week of the 10th, I'm not here the week 21st through the whatever it is,
I mean, it's not
19th through the
necessary.
26th, I'm out. So it could be the 27th. Or,
You got your calendar open there, Mike?
Yeah, I am. I'm looking at
What day of
either-
the week is the 27th? Are you back then, Dave, or no? That
I'm
doesn't-
back on the 26th.
Oh, okay.
27th would be a Thursday.
It's Thursday.
So what would the Monday after that be?
Our next regular meeting. After that will be March 2nd.
I mean, I don't have to be here, so it's okay, just won't be here.
We could meet next Monday and look at the updates of the, I'd like to look at this document again and talk about it. So let's do that on the 10th. You want to do that?
And Donna, you can email us any comments.
Okay, the 10th?
That's next Monday.
I'll be busy in Arkansas.
Okay, so the 10th, we'll have a special meeting on
Not the last one.
regulation updates.
Okay.
And the workhouse, the work, what's it called,
Force housing
Force
overlay
housing.
zone.
There's more significant changes in there, because we didn't have all these graphics before.
No, those graphics were in existing.
They were there?
Yeah. We just don't use that.
They were a long time ago.
Yeah.
That was,
I don't remember that, because
that was even with Hiram, I think.
Yeah. That's correct.
Okay, we chased our people away.
the public away.
Anything else, Mike?
That's all I have. Well, actually, one news. So next Monday, we will have a new zoning officer. I have a zoning officer starting next Monday. He's coming over from the town of Windsor, where he has a background of being the wetlands enforcement officer in Windsor. He was also a housing code officer in Wyndham. So he's got a lot of code experience. He came with some good recommendations, so you'll probably meet, his name is Tom Hazel. You'll meet him in the upcoming meetings.
Cool. And what is his title? Because what the selectmen approved, and
Code compliance officer is
Yeah.
his technical title.
so in our regs, we call him the zoning
Officer.
enforcement officer.
Yeah, but I mean, zoning enforcement officer really is just designated individual. Like, for example, the same thing, the Wetlands Commission designates a wetlands agent, but we don't have a paid position as the wetland agent. It's just a designation by statute, similar zoning officer. But both commissions are supposed to designate if you're gonna allow someone to have the authority to enforce your regulations, you have to say who that is.
But if he wants to get paid, it's
So
got
we'll
to
have
be
to do an
approved by the
appointment
selectmen.
after he joins
After,
us then.
after he joins us.
Well, I had occasion to meet your new staff member Laura today. Where did she come from? Was she from a surrounding town?
So she's the new Carrie. She was with the town of Monroe for 4 years. She had a similar position in the town of Monroe.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
I move we adjourn.
okay.
I'll second it.
Second by Mike, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 6-0. Thank you.
Okay.